Hello, it's been a minute, I think 3 years since I put a video up on this channel. There's a purpose for it. So I've switched gears. For those of you who were subscribed to the channel or used to watch some of this content, I was hiring life insurance agents across the country, trying to build a final expense agency. I'm going to take a few minutes to tell you kind of what happened and why I chose to kind of pivot away from that. And then I've got a proposition for you as a life insurance agent to put more money in your pocket, and you and I to work together in a different capacity, different than before. So again, my name's Kyle Suter, KyleSuter.com. I've really switched gears to retirement planning, estate planning. We added Medicare, and I still do life insurance as well. I am not hiring agents. Might look at that at some capacity in the future, but first I want to start with kind of what happened. You know, I was putting up content every day for a couple of years and was really enjoying it. Loved connecting with a lot of people, met some good people, made some good friends, people that I still talk to. So here's what happened. One of the mistakes I made building a final expense agency, and if you're currently trying to build an insurance agency, these are things to keep in mind. I was hiring everybody, and I hired a number of people. I really started to get some traction, getting people to my website, to go through my website, have a conversation, and we were getting them started. And it really was going pretty well. I found some pretty good producers, and I was happy. About 50% of my income was passive residual at one point, which I loved the trajectory of that. Long story short, I hired a couple bad apples. Happens a lot in this industry. Hired some bad apples. They wrote some bad business. You get somebody that comes in your organization and they just start writing business, and you think, you know, being naive, you think, wow, this guy's a natural, or wow, this girl's just, found what she needs to be doing. Like, she's just a natural. This is a great, and you feel fortunate. And then, 3, 6, 7 months later, you start to see business come off the books, and I was negligent. I didn't run it like a business, like I should have. I wasn't watching things the way I should have been watching them, and it cost me a fair amount of money at a very important time. I had been saving money for a few years to put a down payment on a house. I have 2 kids at the time, our third on the way. Now I've got 4 kids. And saving up money to put a down payment on a house, and if you have looked at the market, that can be costly. That's an investment to put down 20% on a home. So that's what we were saving for, and all of a sudden I've got about a $40,000 roll-up debt, and of course folks don't answer the phone. Folks aren't going to be responsible. So when I started my agency, I came from the multi-level marketing background and felt like once I learned the ropes a little bit, I felt like, wow, that organization really suppresses people. It's really hard to grow. It's really hard to make money, be profitable, and live the kind of life that I wanted to live. So when I started my agency, I thought, wow, I'm going to give agents a great opportunity. I'm going to give them higher commissions. I'm going to give them, really a real track to run on where they can go make good income right away. And so by doing that, I had a smaller spread on all the agents I was bringing in, right? So essentially taking on a lot more risk, and it kind of backfired. And I could have continued to do it. I think I came to the realization that I don't really want to do that. There was a lot of, I was looking for the independent people, right? The dream scenario, the guy or girl that buys leads, goes and works hard. We talk, we got a good relationship, but Those people are 1 in a million. So if I ever do the agency thing again, I'm probably going to do some type of a paid lead program. It's going to be much more tracking. I'm going to have to keep an eye on folks' production, and I don't know if I really want to do that. It's a profitable model, but it's also, and to be honest, that's what most agents will succeed in. Most agents need to have their leads purchased for them. They need to be held accountable, pretty much like a job. You know, you're going to be 1099, but it's like you have a job, and if you don't, your leads get cut off. And I don't really know if I want to do that. Right now, I don't. So what I did was I pivoted more to what I think my real strength is, not necessarily building a team or managing folks, but personal production, right? A lot of my training that I love to train on was sharing what I did in the home, how I was acquiring clients, some straightforward ways, some creative ways, and just sharing my experience of what I've learned. So I pivoted to that, and then made an effort to get into a more sophisticated client, helping solve bigger problems like retirement planning. So I've rebranded as a retirement planner. That's what I've been doing the last 3 years. We've done some estate planning, Medicare, and then still life insurance. I still do see final expense clients. I still talk to a lot of my clients, helping them get moved over to Medicare or signed up for Medicare, and helped a number of them with retirement planning as well. So that's the story as to why you stopped seeing content, what happened to this guy every day. He's putting up videos. I heard a long time ago, be stubborn about your goals and flexible about your methods. And I loved the idea of passive residual income, agents all over the country. That sounds great, but I didn't put the money, the infrastructure, I didn't put what needed to be put in place, the monitoring of, as I mentioned, some bad apples that rolled a lot of debt to me at a bad time. And I'll share a bit of a testimony with you as to how that played out. It turned out good. But so I've pivoted into the personal production role, as I said, and really focused on the retirement planning moving forward. So 2 things. One, I'm going to share with you how that ended. $40,000 debt roll up in a time where I'm trying to save money to buy a home for my family. And then I mentioned there was a proposition of us working together in some capacity. It doesn't revolve around you moving contracts. It doesn't revolve on me recruiting you. As I said, I'm not doing that. But this is a real way to put more money in your pocket. And I'll give you an example of a couple other gentlemen that I helped do this. So how did this end? What happened? So we were saving up money. We had a substantial amount of money saved for a down payment. Took years to do that. I worked about 2 to 3 days a week in the field. My wife worked 3 days a week. So really I was, part-time, if you consider that part-time, and I was trying to build the agency. So all of a sudden you get a surprise $40,000 debt roll up, and I'm pretty calm. Been through adversity before. This was my biggest financial adversity, my biggest hurdle to get over in business, and it caused some anxiety. And so I did I dealt with it the way I know how to deal with it. So I went out, started running. Like the first day I got a letter, one of them was like $15,000 debt roll up. I'm like, feeling the stress of that, going for a run, working through this day by day. And I was waking up early in the morning. I was praying. I found a verse in Philippians, chapter 4, maybe verse 16. I forget exactly. But basically, it says, cast all your anxiety and all of your stress, fear onto God. Give that to Him, and He will give you the peace that surpasses all understanding. So whenever I felt that come on, I would do that. I would give it to God, say a prayer, and just kind of really just moment to moment, try to get through the adversity and the anxiety that came along with that. And these letters just keep rolling in, here's another 5,000, here's another 4,000, here's another 10,000. And I'm thinking, man, I was negligent. I let my family down. This is going to set us back, right? And then, so I'm taking accountability. I was negligent. I let my family down. And then I said, you know what? Then I flipped it on its head. Good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to buy a bunch of leads and I'm going to go to work and I'm going to dig myself out of this, little by little. And so I did that. And to add to that, I remember saying, that's fine. These people, they'll walk away from this debt. It's free money in their pocket. They didn't provide a service. They didn't do anything. They just cast the burden to me, and that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and I'll pay their burden, and then I'll get the blessing for it. And so we reap what we sow. So I went to work doing final expense, just like I knew how to do. And I get a text from an agent I hired like 8 or 9 years ago from another organization. He says, hey, are you still doing life insurance and annuities? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, hey, my dad's retiring and he wants to buy an annuity. And at this time, this is the first annuity I've ever done. And in my mind, I'm thinking, really, there's a thought that comes to my mind like, man, dude, you don't know anything about that, Kyle. Just pass it on or refer him to somebody else who's got more experience. But I decided, I was like, yeah, I can help him. So I took it on, and I decided, well, we'll cross each bridge as we get to it. If he's got a question I don't know the answer to, I'll say, you know what, great question. I'll find that out for you. And so long story short, we had probably like 9 or 10 different conversations over the phone, each time with new questions, and really just being present, being sincere, no sales tricks, no sales pressure, and the whole time being willing to lose the deal, because it was a pretty big deal. Being willing to lose the deal and say, you know what, going to be sincere, honest, forthright, give them as much information as I can, and if nothing else, I'll learn a lot through this process. So approached it with a lot of humility, didn't pretend to be a know-it-all, didn't try to sell him anything. So over the course of 8, 9, 10 conversations over a couple months, he was retiring at a particular time the following year. We moved over a large sum of money. And what's cool, this is a bit of a testimony, is I'm a Christian, and I'll tell you, this is my biggest business hurdle, biggest business adversity, followed by a faithful response, followed by my biggest business success at the time. So $40,000 debt roll up sucks. Respond with faith and action. And I don't know exactly the time frame. It's pretty crazy. It was within a year. I got a deposit for $55,000 helping a client with retirement planning, who already had his mind made up that he wanted this particular financial instrument. He had already done a lot of research. He was already very diligent and knowledgeable about it. He still had a lot of other questions, but that was a blessing. So that's kind of how this transition really happened. Why did I stop uploading videos? Why did I stop hiring agents? Well, I told you why. And then naturally, I feel like God opened another door, and that's where this retirement planning really started. So that's how that all came to an end. I mentioned, I want to say one last thing, when that happened, I was on vacation in Florida with my best friend and my wife and my best friend's girlfriend and all of our kids, and I get the deposit and I'm looking at it, and I told my wife, I said, man, God can do anything. You know, like you get this $40,000 debt and then you respond properly. I felt a lot of anxiety. I felt all the stuff that everybody else feels. You just kind of handle it productively and respond accordingly. And in this case, it just worked out to where, that more than paid for all that. And one of the agents ended up making payments and paying back about half of that $40,000. So it was great. I just wanted to share that with you. It was a transformational transaction. Now, that's a perfect segue into the proposition, because I'll tell you what, I was not used to those types of deposits. But listen, if you learn how to solve bigger problems, or if you do some type of co-op work, partnership with someone who can solve those problems, if you've got somebody that you can refer these types of clients to, and this goes into the proposition. So I've been doing this for 3 years. The first thing I did was I found a very good process. When I did this first deal, I didn't have a process. I knew very little, very limited information about what you could pick up from a conference, someone talking about annuities on stage, or some other retirement planning concepts. I knew very little, but I was fortunate to see the upside, and it was transformational. It really helped me to have bigger vision and to think, man, you can really just be good at what you do, Kyle, and go produce and help people and meet with families and solve bigger problems and still create that lifestyle that you're after and the freedom that you're after. So my proposition to you is, you've been in the insurance business, or you're currently in the insurance business. You come across somebody, and I did this for years, guys. I've been in the business for 13 years now. I think my first 9 or 10 years that went by before I ever wrote an annuity. And there's other things we can do for them on the retirement planning side, but 9 or 10 years. So what was I doing? I was finding money, right? And didn't know really where to go from there. Whether I was kind of intimidated, or if I was a little insecure, thought, well, who am I to talk to this person about their $400,000? Like, I don't have $400,000. Thinking like that when you're getting started in the business, or even if you're in it for 5-10 years. For whatever reason, I was finding money because I was trained on how to find the money just by asking a certain question. And then I just didn't really know where to go from there. So I lacked confidence, lacked clarity, didn't know what to do. Well, now I've got a great deal of confidence and clarity as to what to do, why they should do it, what's the alternative, and why this is better. And I've helped a ton of clients with retirement income planning. I've got the software, I've got the back office, I've got the tools and the support to help. And 3 years of refining this, and 3 years, to be honest with you, that's not that long. But the thing is, I had refined a process before. So as soon as I saw this, I was like kind of comparing it to how detail oriented I was with final expense and all the little nuances within a presentation. And I was just picking this up, like how to have this conversation on the retirement planning side. And so my proposition is, if you've got clients, you come across folks with money that could be an opportunity. I'll give you an example. If you write an annuity, say $100,000 annuity, and you're at a 6 or 7% commission, you probably be at 7%. How much is that? $7,000. Just helping somebody, educate them on this particular, and you won't, in this case, you won't even be doing it. I'll be doing it, and we'll be breaking up the commission. So we'll be splitting the commission. When I first start doing this, it's going to be 50-50. If I get flooded with a lot of opportunity, it might go more 60-40 because here's what this looks like. All right, so let's say Susan finds a client. She's in Florida, Washington, D.C., wherever you are. Doesn't matter where you live. You find a client, they've got $400,000. They express that they're open to talk with you about retirement planning, or your partner. You know, you're their agent, they trust you, they like you, and we get on the phone together. I talk with your client for a few minutes, we'll talk and have a first appointment. In the first appointment, nothing is sold, no recommendations are made. I'm just really asking questions, getting a feel for the client, and finding out, you know, what do they like? What do they believe? What are their goals? What are they afraid of? What are we trying to accomplish? We'll look at their Social Security. They'll know what their Social Security income is or what it's going to be. We'll help them optimize that if they haven't started drawing Social Security. We'll run them through a software called Income for Life. We'll be able to show them on one easy to read page what their guaranteed income sources are going to be for life. What happens when husband dies? What happens when wife dies? Which pensions go away completely? Which pensions are 50% survivorship? So I handle all this. All you are doing is finding, gathering. The alternative is finding this lady, you know, say in Florida with $400,000 and writing her $80 a month final expense policy or life insurance policy, and you're out the door. So you made $1,000. That's great. You're leaving a lot on the table, and I can help you to recoup some of that. So in this, let's look at the other scenario. You help this lady with her life insurance policy. You uncover $400,000 in the process. You give me a call, say, hey Kyle, I've got a lady here. She's a super sweet lady. We set her up with a final expense plan or a life insurance plan, and she expressed that she'd be open to talking to you. That's it. You don't need to sell anything. You don't need to tell her what it is, why you should do it. You don't need to do nothing. Just say, hey, you know, do you have an advisor working with you on this? Okay, well, I've got a partnership with a gentleman in Ohio. He helps people all around the country. I really think he could help you. Would you be open to a phone call? Let's say I talk to this person, you know, I won't explain everything in this video, but I take her through the process. It's basically appointment 1, appointment 2. Sometimes there's a third appointment. And we move, let's say we run her numbers and we figure out how much income she needs and then how much income she really would love to have. And let's say it requires us to move $200,000 of that money. Let's say 200,000 of the 400. We would split that 50-50. That's $14,000 in commission, cut in half. You would walk away with 7,000 and I would keep the other 7,000. How much work did you do? Almost none. Almost nothing. You've found your client, you trusted me enough to help her and guide her. I did all the work. You're not involved in the process, you're not on the Zoom meeting, you're not interjecting, nothing. I'm gonna do the work. I'm gonna help them. And then we will split it 50-50. You do need to get contracted with the carrier. It's not under me. You just got to say, hey, best company is the one that's paying the highest right now for Miss Mary is Delaware Life or American Equity, whoever it may be. Whatever company we decide to go with, whoever's best with this client, hypothetically, you just need to get contracted with them. So you have a writing number. So on the application, I can put your name and your writing number on it and put 50% commission split. What this does is the carrier pays you directly. And I'm not responsible for anything like it. Let's say the lady backs out, you know, the next day. By the way, I have not had this happen one time. So people don't back out of this when you do it the right way. This isn't final expense. This is a totally different deal. extremely high persistency. We're talking about all the benefits. We're talking about the downsides up front. So, but let's say, hypothetically, person cancels it, doesn't want it, wants to get all of her money back, blah, blah, blah. Well then, let's say there's a 100% chargeback on that. Well, I'm gonna pay back my $7,000. Now, I'm not on the hook for your $7,000. That's why we're doing it that way. If you don't want to get contracted with carriers, that's what I would recommend. It's clean. We're bringing $1 billion company into this, and they're going to handle it. It's a clean way to do it. It protects me. It protects you. But if you don't want to do that, you just want to send me people, we can work out some other type of arrangement. But I'm not going to send you, 50% of the commission, and then me be fully liable for 100% of a chargeback if it were to happen under any circumstance. Okay, so that's just risk that I don't want to take on. Okay, so let's say this particular client is afraid of where the world's heading. She's got this $400,000. Maybe it's in a old 401k. It's in a fixed account, getting 3%. And she just doesn't have it in the market because she's terrified of what's going to happen. There's a ton of people, guys, that they know what their Social Security is going to be, but they don't know how their 401k can correlate to income. They're afraid of running out of money. They're afraid of losing money, losing 20 or 30% of their nest egg in the market overnight with no explanation. There's a lot of concerns and stress and emotion tied into money, and money's a lot more psychological than even the clients realize, I think. But we can help folks that fit this archetype of financial beliefs. Once they're, at a particular age, they start to be concerned. They don't want to lose money. How do I convert this to income? How can I make it last forever? What happens if I die? Will my husband get it? Will my wife get it? What happens if we both die? The children will get it. So my proposition is to you is a 50-50 split on retirement planning. So you find somebody with some money, you give me a call, send me an email, we'll get in touch. But looking forward to helping folks. And there was one more thing I was going to tell you. Gentleman that and this is kind of what gave me the idea. The gentleman that used to watch this channel, that used to subscribe and comment and watch all my stuff that came up, we kind of became friends and stayed in touch. And about earlier this year, he had referred some clients to me. And we did this 50-50 split. And we moved about $385,000. That was a $26,000 commission. We split it 50-50, and he got $13,000. He was not involved in the appointment 1, appointment 2. He's not involved in the contract review. He's not involved in mailing the personal financial inventory binder. He's not going to be involved in the annual reviews with the retirement plan. He doesn't need to know anything. All he did was refer them to me, and he got contracted with the 2 carriers that we were going to put the money with. And he got $13,000 deposited. So just want to share this. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you have a blessed day. If you want to know more about how this works, or if you want to reach out, the best way to do that is to find me on Facebook or Instagram. Let me show you real quick how you can find me on there. Show you what I look like on here. So, Kyle Studer, you see retirement planning, estate planning. Okay, just on Facebook in Ohio. You can find me on there, and that's the best way to contact me. If you reach out to me on Facebook, I'll see it within a reasonable amount of time. You can message me. If you find a phone number for me, that's fine. Send me a text, tell me who you are. If you want to go through my website, That's more geared toward retirement clients now, but kylesuter.com. I think that comes through to my email as well. So have a blessed day. If you have questions, that's fine. You can call. We can set up a time to talk about what does this look like. But I promise you, the way I started doing this, the first thing I did after I was referred this client, then I found an organization that I got a process and a really concrete way of having the conversation and guiding the client through appointment 1, appointment 2. After I had that, I mailed out letters to my book of business, and it was fantastic. So if you have a book of business, you can do that. I can give you the same letter. Can be your name on it. And once you talk to them, then you get them on the phone with me, and if I can help them, it's money for you that is otherwise seeping out the door, out the window, and you could be retaining some of this. And I mean, a $300,000 annuity puts $10,000 in your pocket. That's after we split it. It's $20,000, split it in half, that's $10,000. So what would an extra $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 of income in a year do for you when you don't have to learn everything, you don't have to go through all the training, you don't need to practice your process. Now you can, and if you want to do that, I can tell you what organization I work with, and you can go out to the quarterly meetings, you can go to Las Vegas and to Florida, and you can learn it. You can invest in yourself and you can learn it. And you know what? You'll make more doing that. But here's the deal. As I said earlier, most agents operate better by having leads purchased for them, kind of being told what to do. That's okay. Everybody's different. And this is kind of a similar process. If you're one of the people that, man, I don't want to go up that hill, Kyle. I don't want to fly to Florida or to Las Vegas to learn this. I don't want to, make 100 mistakes before I'm good at it. Yeah, I'll take 50-50. Here's my client, Greg. Here's my client, Kathy. Let's get on the phone with them. And so I'll leave you with that. What would an extra $20,000, $30,000 a year do for your income? What would just an extra $10,000 this year look like for you? So kylesuter.com, you can contact me there. Best way, go through Facebook and send me a message. All right, have a blessed day, guys. Bye-bye.